Alright, Legionnaires, this is your Professor Quipity's classes in session. Today's lesson, armor, and all you need to know. Sit back, relax, and strap in for the ride. What's up, Foster Bros? Welcome to a brand new video. In this video, I'll explain how armor works in Morrowind to the best of my abilities. As you can see, I have my Imperial Armor Tester over here. He's going to be your professor for today. His name is Quipity's. He's Quipity's, the armor tester, as y'all can see right here. As y'all can also see, I set all my armor skills to 100. That's actually going to be important for today's lesson. And speaking of which, I also have a sack here I was sitting on. This sack has all the armor in the game, or at least all the armor I could find in the game. And yeah, I'm going to explain armor now and essentially how it all works so you all know how to use it in your game. So armor is percentage based. Every armor type gives you armor based off of the types of percentage based off of skill. So for example, if you have wolf armor has 50% armor value, meaning if you have a skill of 50, it would provide you 25 armor. If you had a skill of 100, it would provide 50, and if you had a skill of 200, it would provide 100. Of course, as you see, our unarmored skill is 100, and our unarmored armor is 65, but it's not 65%. I'll explain why later. But for example, adamantium is 133%, except for the helmet, which is 233%, basically meaning that the percentage values on all armor actually works. Unarmored is different, but again, I'll explain that later. So bear armor is 50%, just like wolf, and bone mold, and of course, boiled netch leather is 23%, it's kind of worthless. Chitin is 33%, and essentially y'all can pause the video at any point to see what percentage values on some of your favorite pieces of armor and whatnot. But essentially, if I say had this cloth bracer on with 13% armor, and if I had 200 light armor skill, my armor rating based off of that cloth would be a total of like 26, if that makes sense. It's kind of hard to explain at face value, and honestly, I find that the wiki kind of explains it poorly by saying it's like base armor, when the base armor is more of based of if your skill was, I think, 10 for the armor rating, which honestly I guess makes sense to a degree, because that's where your armor skill would be around about for the start of the game. But honestly, that's not really what I view as base armor. And yeah, so basically any of this armor, it's percentage base. You equip it, and the more you train with it, the higher the armor goes based off the percentage. And I've noticed this based off of how Orcish armor and Dark Brotherhood armor works, because as y'all saw when I was hovering over Dark Brotherhood armor, it had an armor value of 100, which is 100%, and literally if you ever used Dark Brotherhood armor and leveled up your light armor while wearing it, you would have noticed the same exact thing. Your light armor skill levels up to 69. Guess what? Your armor rating is now 69 from all that Dark Brotherhood armor. Anyways, some more honorable mentions, such as the Imperial chain set with the curse of 40%, and the rest being 66%. Imperial Dragon Scale is 66%, which is honestly quite interesting. Of course, Not all armors actually get close to 150%. In fact, most armors don't even get that close. And as you can see, for instance, Imperial Templar is only 60%. Indorel is actually 150%, which actually makes it not the best medium armor, but it is close to one of the best medium armors. And of course, I'll explain all the different armor types later, the armor classes later, sorry, between light, medium, and heavy, and how all they work, and what the best value you can get out of them. And as you can see, Netch Leather armor is actually something I really want to point out. It has a armor rating of 16%, meaning that it's literally more worthless than just wearing regular old clothes. You lose armor by wearing Netch Leather. You may as well just wear Chitin, because Chitin is actually superior to Netch Leather by a lot. You will never find Netch Leather being useful in anything. Of course, Nordic Mail is 220, and of course Daedric is 266, so Nordic Mail is actually close to Daedric level, but not quite. Anyways, I guess now it is time that we actually test out some of this armor, now that I've essentially reviewed a good chunk of it. So yeah, and as you can see, I'll just hover over some more armor, and I'll get back with y'all once I start testing the armor out to show y'all some armor ratings for base armor. Also, what did y'all think of that little quiz I had of those 3 questionnaires? Let me know if y'all got any of those right, or if there was any of those you got wrong. Honestly, the whole percentage system is kind of easy to understand after a while, because literally all you're doing is taking the decimal points from the end of the armor you see right next to the word armor, and just moving it 2 sides to the left. So for Wolf, you would take and move the invisible decimal point right next to the 0, and then you'd move it to the left twice, and it would just be 0.5. So every other level skill points up would be 1 point to your armor rating from Wolf armor. Oh yeah, an honorable mention, the Wyclovian for Helm has the same armor rating as the Colovian for Helm, so ain't that something. Anyways, without further ado, I guess it's time that we start looking at the armor and trying to grab ourselves full set. So let's see here. I know we're going to need the Curse of Sauvier's Hide. We're going to need a full suit of glass armor, because first we're going to show y'all what a full suit of basic light, best light armor's like, maxed out. So I'm just going to go all the way over here and grab the 2 bracers, because they're actually not really named properly. You notice how they say glass left, glass right, and the bracers, they say left glass, right glass, so they will not appear in the proper alphabetical order. Anyways, with a full suit of light armor on, with our current skill of 100, we have 198 armor rating. A 198 armor rating is more than enough to take a few hits, and of course the Curse of Sauvier's Hide is a legendary curse to behold. We're of course also going to grab ourselves a medium set, so that way we can actually test that out. So some of the best medium armor would include the adamantium helmet, like I've shown, and the ice boots and ice greaves, which is actually as good as glass. Also the ice shield, which is not as good as a glass tower shield, by the way. And then the Royal Guard gauntlets, pauldrons, and chestplate, the cuirass, because all of those have a percentile rating of 183 or 1.83 for every skill point level up. So we're just going to grab all of these bad boys. And yeah, that should be all of the better stuff. Also, don't ask how I got all this guard armor. It involved a little bartering with my mace, anyways. Equipping the helmet on right away increases our armor rating a good bit, but once we get a full suit of medium armor on, you start to realize, yeah, we get 180. Now, if we combined medium and light, we would actually be able to get an insanely higher armor rating, but honestly, yeah, like, medium has some good pieces, but it's, honestly, if you're just going pure medium, it's a bit of a waste, because light is actually better, and of course, if it wasn't for Savir's hide, glass armor would be outclassed by medium armor, but because of Savir's hide just being in the base game without any DLCs, that would, heck, even if you tried to get the max medium armor in the base game without DLCs, glass would still outclass Indorel and Orcish, because that would be the best before DLCs. And now, of course, the heavy best is actually quite obvious. It's the only armor that's 266%, or 2.66 if you want to judge based off of armor per skill point. And of course, we're just going to grab ourselves a full set, including a tower shield, which is also 266, and the Daedric Face of God, which is also 266. And that's the only way you can say it, by the way. From now on, all you can say is Daedric Face of God. You have to specify God every time, because if you don't, people don't know that you're actually talking about the Daedric Face of God. Anyways, we're just going to put on this full suit of armor, and we definitely look snazzy, and we have an armor rating of, well, 266, because of course, Daedric is kinda mundane in the fact that you don't have much variety in armor rating unless you're wearing any helmet other than the Daedric Face of God. But of course, with Daedric armor on, we still look snazzy and have a good armor rating. But there's more. With the wonderful world of enchanting and DLC spells, you're not limited to a 100 armor skill for any armor. So as you can see, we now have a full suit of enchanted Daedric armor, including an enchanted Daedric Face of God, and enchanted robes, clothes, a skirt, a belt, a scepter here, a little staff, and yeah, with this full setup, we have a skill of 416, and now I'm just going to review all of these armor sets. So with a skill of 416, your armor rating comes out to 1,109, with a weight value of 381, so this setup takes up 381 of your pounds, and in exchange you get 1,109 armor, which is insane. Now, moving on, we're going to go, of course, from heavy downwards. So next up is our shady little fellow in his shady medium helmet right here. It's, of course, a medium set of enchanted armor. As you can see, the pauldrons aren't enchanted, because only the Daedric pauldrons actually can get enchanted with the constant effect. So we only have a 335 for this, and an armor rating of 614. Not the most impressive, but you know what? Not bad for medium armor. And of course it has a weight value of 126, so you're at least not going to be weighed down as much as you would be carrying a full suit of Daedric. Though to be fair, if you're wearing a full suit of Daedric, you would be like super armored, so it doesn't matter about your weight. Also, I made sure to roll high with these enchantments. Next up, we of course have glass. Of course, the pauldrons aren't enchanted again, because they couldn't be enchanted. Though, here's the thing, with glass, it's just like with how glass was base, like when it was just base. So we of course have 317, which is actually worse than the rolls we got from medium armor. However, 628, still higher than medium armor for a weight value of 78. Literally, all medium armor is for is roleplay because of Savier's hide. Savier's hide makes light armor just so much more superior to medium armor. It's honestly ridiculous, and of course here's the dice rolls I got for that. But of course, finally, we have a more interesting one. So, you remember the whole part about unarmored and where I mentioned how it will be like 65%, but it's not really? Alright, so I'm going to tell you all the truth. Unarmored actually works a bit differently than every other armor class. As you can see, I have 334. Now, tell me in the comments what you think my armor rating is. Yeah, it's 725. And it only costs 32 pounds to have this much. 725. That is more than medium and more than light. How do I have this high armor, you may ask? Well, I actually tested it out. Apparently, medium armor works in a very different way than the other armors, and it actually increases how much armor value you get based off of what your armor skill is, as you can see by these notes here. Anyways, remember to subscribe, and here's the last setup, the lineup, and yeah, like, subscribe, share the video if you want to, and have a nice one. See y'all in the next one. Bye.